a great game we just saw. The Prime team certainly showed that they have amazing players in this up and down group, and now it is up to Complexity to show us what they have in mind for this group. Will they be able to compete?
Complexity
It is
Killer.
to the right, to the top right on Entomb Valley, our Protoss player. It's Killer, and he definitely has a lot to prove here.
Yeah, he does. A player who has been dominant in the past.
To the bottom left, though, his teammate, the Terran player, also starting for the Complexity team. It is
Complexity Hurted.
Do you remember Songho's old ID? Besides Songho, which is actually just his first name.
I always forget it. He had like 3, didn't he? 3 or 4?
Baby Bye Bye.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, TSL Baby Bye Bye, if I'm not mistaken. It may be like some variation like Bye Bye Baby, but I'm pretty sure it's Baby Bye Bye. And I remember Killer and Trickster, Sulky Sue, actually, they changed their IDs so many times during the beta and in the early stages of release. It was like hard to keep track of who was who.
I mean, come on, you can't blame the guy. If my nickname was Baby Bye Bye, I would want to change it too.
I would change it. I'd be like, listen, I'm actually so dangerous. I'm not a baby. I'm the killer. I think that's a pretty drastic name change, but you know, one that makes sense. Well, gas has been taken for Heart here. And this guy he can play a macro game. He has shown it in the past. You can see both of these players' win rates in this matchup are not too shabby. Obviously, Heart not showing very many games just yet. Only 3 games in total.
Exactly. That's one of the things that we can say about Killer here for sure. He's definitely the more experienced player.
And I said not too shabby, but actually I didn't. I meant it was pretty shabby. Like they're both below 50%.
Yeah, that's a problem that Killer definitely has here. He is in his worst match. Oh, sorry, no, he's not. His worst matchup is obviously, I mean, if anyone watches Killer's play, he knows that his Protoss versus Protoss is where he struggles the most. In his matchup against Terran, he has overall, including the foreign competitions, a win ratio of 49%. And in this recent matches, he was defeated by Ryung, he was defeated by Finn, but he was able to win against Hoon, one of the NSOSA players, aka Sting.
Yeah, Sting.
So definitely something that we have to keep in mind here. For Heart, on the other hand, we have seen that in the GSL he has not that many games. If you can include his his matches that he played in foreign competitions, then he has still 31 matches against Protoss, and it's actually his strongest matchup with a 24 wins to 7 losses. He has a 77% win ratio, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's overall. Of course, the stat we saw earlier was just GSL only, where he hasn't played as many games.
For example, he was able to defeat Huck twice at MLG Spring Arena. He faced him twice. He defeated MC, and guys, guess what? He took down Harding with 3-0.
Yep, and he beat Huck again at Spring Arena too.
Yeah.
I loved watching this guy play. He's a very strong player. He loves his all-ins, but he can play a longer game. He's kind of unpredictable. In the Spring Arena 2, I actually broadcast his games against Huck, and Huck kind of beat himself in the games with the build orders that he chose. Oftentimes, not to say that Huck's not a good player, but it's like he didn't want to play a straight-up game against Heart, and Heart just played defensively and won the games. Heart is now going for Cloak Banshees in this matchup. This isn't really cheesy, but it's not the way the matchup is being played in Korea right now, so this may be something that catches Killer a little bit off guard. He has not been able to scout what his opponent is doing. He's seen the triple wall off.
Killer's going for the Robo now right away, even starts the robotics before he heads into the 2 additional gates, which is something that we see, but usually you have the 3 gates first and then the robotics. That works out with the timing. And what we are going to see now is Killer building 1 observer, heading out, trying to scout, and the main question is, will he get the second one so that he has an observer in place when the Banshee arrives at his natural or in his main base?
I think he will. I think he will make a second observer. A Raven is coming down for Heart, who is definitely going to go all in with this build, getting 2 additional barracks as well right now. And with Cloak, with this many barracks, with the Raven, he's going to just do a Raven Banshee timing attack, using the point defense drone to soak up Stalker fire. This Marine pressure is to try to eliminate some of the units of Killer to scare him a little bit.
Oh, nice. He sends out a probe to the left. The probe might actually be able to spot the Banshee in time.
And he's making that second observer so smartly.
He's getting another Nexus now. He's getting a 3rd base.
Having a 3rd base against this type of timing attack can oftentimes be really good, because if you have that third Nexus up, you have something to kind of fall back on. But if Heart gets into a good position, sieges up, and prevent... Oh, that sentry had full energy.
That's a bit of an upset here, and he knows about the third base too.
And with the third base on this map, unless you kill the rocks, your opponent can kind of get into a good position and deny you from mining from there. Even if it's up, you just can't use it. It's very easy to do as a Terran on this map.
And the Banshee comes in once again, going for the pressure here, taking down a few probes. And Heart is playing this very well. Just look at how many probes the Banshee is actually able to take out here after it already killed the sentry. A very cost-efficient Banshee here.
Yeah, he gets away with it. It's not even going to die. Killer right now adding additional gateways, preparing to hold this push. Siege mode is on the way.
He cancelled his third base. He cancelled his third Nexus and is trying to get Immortals here in order to compete with, well, to have something against the siege tanks.
This is going to be a pretty tough push to hold, but Killer absolutely can do it with the additional gateways he's making right now. He's going to have the production to hold here. It's all going to come down to the first move out. A bunch of SCVs being pulled here from Heart. If he actually can buy time, if he can bait the points defense run out early, which he's trying to do now with his Blink Stalkers, he may be able to buy time to use 2 Warpins on those gateways. I think if he gets 2 Warpins on the gates, he can hold this.
You're so right about this. If he's able to get out, get more units out, then he will be in a position to defend against this. 37 probes against 28 SCVs. Here comes Heart pushing out. No point defense drone. He was not able to bait it out just yet. And Heart, he certainly means business.
Yeah, he does. Pylon's finishing up for Killer. He has 1 round of Warpins from those 3 additional gateways. He wants to add a second one. And Killer actually trading a Stalker for an SCV twice. That's a pretty bad trade. Zealot's charging in here. The Immortal's actually going to target. He does cloak. And the point defense drone's denying all of the damage off the Stalkers. He will potentially get the siege tank. No, he cannot close the distance.
Marines are alive and
He's
they
not
do
targeting.
so much DPS. No target by Killer. He's losing both Immortals here. And suddenly the means to defeat these tanks, the Banshees are still alive. And the anti-air is kind of gone. He only has 3 Stalkers left.
Yeah, this is basically...
Oh, he's moving in right now. The
he's
last
got the
warp
point defense still active, and these Zealots, yeah, they may help clean up some of these Marines, but the Banshees are still here, yeah. The last Stalkers are falling, more Marines are coming in, and Killer is going to lose to his teammate here in Game 1. This guy has been called cheesy by many. Is the strategy cheese? I would say not, but it's definitely not a macro play.
It's a very well executed strategy that he trained a lot. You can see how his timings worked out perfectly. His Banshee Harass did a lot of damage, killed a sentry and a lot of probes, and now he's just forcing Killer into the main base. Killer is on 1 base right now. The worker count is 33 to 20. But with the overall supply, Heart in a huge lead.
Yep. He's tearing through the Stalkers now, and Zealots are being warped in here, but with no Stalkers to support the Marines, the Banshees alone will be able to take out the rest of these
Zealots
units.
are not the answer here, but it's the only thing that he can do, and he is desperate at this point. But the game is over as Heart moves into Killer's main base and takes the production buildings apart.
They're starting to fall very quickly. The tanks are now sieged. He's desperately trying to warp in Stalkers. Manor scan goes down here. The probes are being pulled, and he will try to mineral walk them, but it just doesn't matter. Again, even if he loses everything, the Banshees will do it. GG. And up a game is Heart, taking a pretty big grin on his face. Cross positions, Marine, tank, Raven Banshee all in. An older build, but it still works out most of the time against the type of play that we saw from Killer. Killer not looking very happy.
No, not at all. He doesn't look happy at all after this loss, but Heart executed this very well. And, well, he takes the first win in this group. And our next game is going to be another Terran versus Protoss. We have a 6-players group right now, so now it's going to be MMA against Ace. And, well, Killer against Heart was pretty straightforward, so let's just move on to the next game. What do you think about Ace's chances here?
I think it's pretty low. You know, right now, even though MMA has shown some weakness in this matchup in the past, I think Ace is a player who hypes himself up too much. Right? These days, the last games I've seen of him in the team league and in the individual league, a lot of the times he's gotten lucky in some of his games. He holds all-ins and then wins the game. And holding an all-in to get a win is kind of cool and it's respectable. But I haven't seen anything from him that wows me where I'm like, wow, he's got Code S material written on his cheerfuls or his like shirts that he's ripping off. I don't see that right now. I'm looking forward to seeing, though, what he's going to do. The problem, though, for him, Caldor, is the map is going to be dual site. That's going to be a tough map for him to win on. And I think we may see Ace do something crazy. He may do a really big all-in.
He's kind of known for it, isn't he?
Yeah, he does that on maps that are tough for him. He does all-ins, or he holds all-ins. It's like something like that happens. On Crossfire, he wins all the time against Zerg players who try to Nidus him. It's weird.
Sometimes he reminds me a little bit from his style of play. It's not putting it to quite the extreme, but the style that he sometimes goes for reminds me a little bit of Choya.
I can see that, yeah. I'm a little bit reminded
It's not the same. Choya is taking it to an extreme with all his proxy builds that he uses, but he's quite successful with it to a certain extent.
A little bit too, you know? I see like a little bit of Hongen in him, but I think that like from here he's going to go for, I mean, in this group, obviously he can't play his normal style of being a little bit aggressive, going for these builds, but he's got so many matches ahead of him.
And the one thing that we should keep in mind as well is that he has a lot of Terran players to practice with. He has Hack, he has Sound, he has Bomber, of course. We have Virus, all StarTale players that he can practice with, that he can rely on to help him in this match. So he might have thought about some really crazy strategies, something that he can pull off that might work here, or just go for the straight-up game. But it's going to be very, very interesting.
If he has been training well with the players you mentioned, those strong Terrans from the team StarTale, I think he may have a chance against MMA here. I'm really curious to see what build he's going to do. He has a lot to prove, not only to me, but the fans out there, because right now, everyone in Korea is saying this about this guy too, saying that he is all talk. You know, he loves to do his celebrations. He celebrates even when he doesn't win, when his teammates win.
He's a very, very outgoing person.
Right, and you know, if you're all talk and you and no real skill, I mean, people are going to criticize you for that.
He can prove it today, so
I think he may. I think he may. Like, I think he definitely has the potential to be a top-tier player. He's just not showing it yet.
Wolf mentioned earlier that if there's a matchup that MMA might struggle a little bit right now, it's a matchup against Protoss, and this is so right. Well, if we just look at the recent history, his matchup against Protoss is his weakest. He's overall, of course, a very, very strong player, so even his weakest matchup, he's pretty darn good. But the last two games he played against Squirtle and he played against MC, not really the Protoss players you would call weak, but he lost against both of them.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a top contender, then you have to be able to take them down as well. So he has to prove here that he is able to defeat Protoss players in this competition. And it's really, really interesting to see. I checked his match history. He played against so many Terrans, against so many Zergs, but only against a few Protoss lately.
Yeah.
And he lost most of them.
Yeah, and it seems to be a problem that begets a problem, because if you are usually weak in a matchup and you don't have to play it a lot, are you going to focus on that? No. If you're not actually having to play it very much, you're going to be practicing for your other matchups to make sure they look strong. And then if you don't have any pros opponents, you don't prepare, and then suddenly you do have a lot of pros opponents. This is a group, you know, you and I talked before, and we were talking about who might potentially get out here. A lot of people are considering Marine King and MMA to be the clear favorites to get out, but I kind of lean towards Boong Boong a little bit maybe in this group because of MMA's weakness against Protoss. With this many Protosses in the group, I think this may be a tough match for him. I mean, it's not going to be easy, that is for sure.
I am one of the persons who actually think that Marine King and MMA had the best chances here, but if I would have to name a person that is, might be able to cause a bit of a surprise, it would certainly be Boong Boong. It's once again a really stacked group, so naming players is not that easy. You can give us your suggestion, guys. What do you think when we'll be heading into our third game? Who is going to get out of this group? We have Marine King, Killer, Heart, MMA Ace, and Boong Boong. Let us know. Write us a tweet on Twitter. Write at ProxyWolf and at Caldor, and let us know what you think who's going to advance today. You've seen the first two games. Now we see the last two players. Who will make it? Who will claim the Code S spot?
We're going to find out right now at the GSL Up and Down matches. This match, our final of the first 6 players. It's MMA against Ace on dual site.